Hello and welcome to my presentation. The abstract title for my presentation is Models for how schools and music services can work together to raise the standard of music in schools and give all children the opportunity to learn an instrument through school music lessons. I was born in Denmark and studied music in the UK at the universities of Nottingham, York and Cambridge, and I taught in secondary schools for 18 years, 15 years of those at Robert Smythe Academy in Leicestershire, where I was head of music. I returned to Denmark in 2017 and now work as a schools coordinator at Musik- og Billedskolen in Varde, which is a local authority music and art service. I took part in the EAS conference 2019 in Malmö and contributed a chapter to the Epomy Make Music Matter book. The objective of this practical research presentation is to provide models as to how Musik- og Billedskolen, the local authority music service in Varde, collaborates with local schools in teaching music in the curriculum, with the aim to raise standards and give all children the opportunity to learn an instrument through curriculum lessons. My practical research is based around 3 schools: Trane Skole og Børneby, afdeling Torstrup Skole, Blåbjergskolen and Billum Friskole. Collaboration between music services and schools in Denmark has been happening since 2013, when the Danish school reform required all state schools to collaborate with their local authority music services on the provision of music in schools. In the local authority of Varde, Musik- og Billedskolen works with schools in various ways. In terms of curriculum music lessons, we collaborate with 8 of the 19 authority schools by co-teaching 27 classes of music. Some schools buy us in to co-teach curriculum music, together with the school's own music specialist. The benefit of having 2 music teachers per class can be summed up as 1 + 1 = 3. Else Marie Oggels, a former lecturer in music education in Denmark, has written various papers about this. Other schools buy us in because they don't have a music specialist themselves. And in these schools, our teachers from the music service co-teaches music with a class teacher or learning support assistant from the school. Why give all children the opportunity to learn an instrument through school music lessons? Well, I think it's all about equal opportunity. The chance to learn an instrument should be available to all children, not determined by your socio-economic background. When I returned to Denmark in 2017, I read a report which stated that in Denmark 55% of children who have individual lessons in music services come from households with a joint annual income of 800,000 Danish kroner, or about 107,000 euros. To me, that showed that most of the children who can afford to come into music services are those from better off families. In Varde, we have some orchestral classes, which we started in 2018, and we have those in 2 local authority schools, Trane Skole og Børneby, and that started in 2018 and is financed by Musik- og Billedskolen as a pilot project to kick off this concept in the local authority of having these orchestral classes. And the tuition here is on the clarinet, the saxophone, the trumpet and the trombone. In 2019, we also started an orchestral class at Blåbjergskolen, and this one is sponsored by the Agency for Culture and Palaces and focuses on tuition on the violin and flute. We also have a free school with an orchestral class, and that's Billum Friskole, where we started a class last year, and this is financed by the school itself, and the tuition here is on the flute and the saxophone. This slide shows the model for the orchestral class at Torstrup Skole. I have included some video clips which you will see in a moment, but I will just try and outline the model first of all and the structure for the lessons. So the lessons take place during curriculum music lessons for 10 to 13-year-olds, so during compulsory music lessons, and we have class sizes of about 20 students. It's a 90-minute weekly lesson for 34 weeks during the school year. And there are 3 teachers from Musik- og Billedskolen involved. A woodwind specialist offering the clarinet and saxophone, a brass specialist offering the trombone and trumpet, and a general classroom practitioner who can also teach the piano, bass guitar and the drum kit, and that happens to be myself taking that role. We also have a class teacher or learning support assistant from the school assisting the class. All students learn 4 instruments for 8 weeks. They try the clarinet, the saxophone, the trumpet and the trombone before they get the opportunity to choose. And we feel it's really important to give them the opportunity to try all these different instruments and let them have a choice in which one they prefer to play. The students are also in the second year of this project taught the piano, bass guitar and the drum kit, so that the class can form its own rhythm section rather than having to rely on a backing track. This overview shows the weekly lesson structure for year 1 of the project. We have groups of 4 to 6 students who each receive 30-minute tuition on the clarinet or saxophone or trumpet or trombone, and then a 30-minute session on general music, that's music theory, music history, composition and so on with myself. And then we always spend 30 minutes at the end of the lesson on class ensemble performance skills, where the whole class plays together. Here's a video clip which shows that kind of lesson structure summed up. Så I får lige et sæt af de her, ikke også? Sådan. Ja, hvad hedder den? Ved du det? D. Ja, det er nemlig rigtigt. Det er lige D. Nej, så det er ikke helt forstået. Det skal lige have det ekstra. And the clip here was taken from about a month and a half into the project. We also make sure that the classes get the opportunity to perform in public very soon, because we feel that's really important for building that self-confidence and using music as an active practical subject and showing performance skills. So after about 3 months, the class did a concert in front of lots of other children. In the second year, the students get the opportunity to learn rhythm section instruments as well, so the piano, the bass guitar and the drum kit. They still receive 30-minute tuition on the clarinet, saxophone, trumpet or trombone after their choice, and then they have a 30-minute session on rhythm section instruments, and then we spend 30 minutes on class ensemble performance skills at the end. And by having now added a rhythm section to the class can perform independently like its own kind of big band or orchestra. And I have a video clip to show you this here, where the independent class orchestra performs after 18 months. To us, it's really important as well that the children get an opportunity to perform outside the school. in the local environment, in the local town or the village or wherever it might be. For some of these children, their parents obviously came to watch the concert, and that was for the first time they perhaps came to see that kind of music and their children actually perform live. So that was a great opportunity and experience for them as well. We have an orchestral class at Blåbjergskolen, and this one focuses on the violin and the flute. Otherwise, the outline of the model is very much the same. We have 3 teachers from Musik- og Billedskolen, a woodwind specialist offering the flute, a string specialist offering the violin, and myself offering the piano, bass guitar and drum kit. And then we also have a classroom teacher from the school offering music theory and music history, because we're lucky that this particular classroom teacher actually has some musical skills herself. All the students try the flute and the violin here for 12 weeks before choosing, and that's longer than at the other school because the flute can be quite difficult to get a good sound out of initially. This is what our flute teacher has found, so therefore she has decided that it was better to have a longer period of time so the students don't get a bad experience of playing the flute, but actually are able to play and produce a good tone before they decide which instrument to choose. And again, the instruments they learn in the second year are also the piano, bass guitar and the drum kit, so they can form their own rhythm section. And here's the weekly lesson structure for year 1. Again, students have 30 minutes tuition in groups of 6 on the flute and violin, and some general music theory, music history and so on. And then 30 minutes at the end of every lesson, we always perform together as a whole ensemble, because again, really important to experience that sense of ensemble feeling as soon as you can just produce one note. And I have a clip here of the orchestral class performing a public concert after 4 months, Christmas concert with about 300 people watching. Good opportunity again to get on stage and show after 4 months what you can actually do and what you have achieved. It gave the students a lot of self-confidence. Many of their parents didn't play instruments themselves, so again it was a great experience for them as well to see their children performing. I did some interviews with the students after about 9 months, because to me the student voice is always really important, to hear what the students really think of the lessons and learning those instruments, because they are the best people to kind of answer our thoughts about how the lessons are developing and so on, and what are they getting out of it. I've obviously put some English subtitles under here for you to follow.
Hvad synes du så om at gå i orkesterklassen og lære at spille violin?
Det er sjovt.
Ja, hvorfor?
Fordi at man lærer mere end normalt, og man får også lov til at få instrumenterne med hjem, så man kan også få dem med derhjemme.
Hvad er det sjoveste ved at spille violin, eller ved at være i orkesterklassen?
Det er at lære at spille nogle sange, som man sådan kender.
Hvordan tænkte du ville være at skulle lære violin, inden du sådan startede på det?
Jeg tænkte, at det ville være virkelig svært, men det er ikke helt lige så svært, som man troede. Men det er ikke heller ikke lige sådan noget, man lærer på en dag.
I timen, hvordan er den sådan delt op?
Vi har delt op sådan, at vi spiller på violin, som er mit, og så bagefter går man ind og laver noget teori.
Hvor mange er I inde og spille gangen ved violinlæreren?
Så tror jeg, vi er 6. Det er egentlig, jeg synes, det er meget god, fordi så er der ikke sådan så lang tid mellem, at man når at spille igen. Der kommer heller ikke lige så meget larm, hvis man nu siger, at man var 15 i stedet for, eller hvor mange man skulle være. Det er meget godt, at man er sammen med andre, for ligesom sådan at høre, hvordan de gør det.
Spiller I også nogle gange sammen med hele klassen, eller hvordan?
Ja, det plejer vi at gøre sidst i timen. Det er egentlig også, det er sådan meget godt, fordi så er vi sådan alle sammen samlet, og så spiller vi både violin og fløjter.
Hvorfor valgte du violinen?
Fordi at jeg kunne ikke puste i fløjten, og at det var bare den, jeg synes, der lød bedst.
Hvad synes du om den lyd, som violinen den laver?
Den er god. Nogle gange kan det også være ikke så godt lyd, når man spiller fejl.
Og har du været med til nogle koncerter?
Ja, nogle julekoncerter og sommerkoncerter og sådan noget. Det har været lidt underligt at stå oppe på en scene og spille for andre. Lige når vi skal til op på scenen, så er man sådan lidt nervøs. Og når man kommer ned igen, så det er lidt svært at beskrive. Så er man bare glad. Fordi alle klapper og alt sådan noget.
Ja.
Det er jo en dejlig følelse, at folk klapper, fordi de synes, man er god.
The kind of summary of the individual student interviews after 15 months, not after this interview you just saw, but 15 months after the beginning of the project, showed that by interviewing 24 students to hear whether they wanted to like to continue learning the violin or the flute, or whether they wanted to swap over to focusing just on a rhythm section instrument, actually 21 out of 24 students wanted to continue to learn the violin or the flute. Only 3 students wanted to give up and focus on learning the drum kit instead. So that was perhaps surprising, but it just proved that orchestral instruments actually to many students are just as interesting to learn as modern instruments. And that was really a great thing for us to hear. And it gave us great confidence to continue with these projects. In the second year, as well as learning the flute and the violin, the students do get the opportunity to learn the rhythm section instruments as well. And in this class, where we have 24 students, we have made a slightly different division of the groups. And instead of having one big class ensemble, we also have smaller groups within. So the first group that goes in for tuition during the first 30 minutes, the groups in red form kind of like their own ensemble, mini ensemble, within the last 10 minutes of those first 30 minutes. So that's a slightly different model that we have tried to create. Occasionally the whole class plays together, but in these corona times that's been quite difficult. So therefore we've also created these smaller groups instead. Praxis or political kind of significance for music education, from what I found during this practical research project, is to ensure that music lessons engage children in practical activities to underpin the understanding of music as a practice. The Danish professor and brain researcher Helle has written a book called Læring med kroppen forrest, which can be translated roughly as learning starts through your body. It's not been translated into English, but hopefully it will at some point. I think it's also important to introduce students to both orchestral as well as modern instruments, to give them practical skills that can foster that long life interest in active music making and not just as passive listeners of music. Give students the opportunity to learn an orchestral instrument through curriculum music lessons to remove possible barriers of access, which is, for example, those financial barriers or the preconceived perceptions that learning an orchestral instrument is difficult and only for a select group. Give students a choice of instruments to support motivation and a sense of autonomy. And give students instrumental tuition for 2 years, not just a taster for a few months. A substantial longer period of time ensures development of control and skill on the instrument, fostering that self-confidence and belief in their own ability. When I taught in England, I had a student come into year 7 from a primary school who'd had 2 months tuition with a whole class of 24 students on a brass instrument and had had a really bad experience and had almost been turned off music. So I think it's just really important to actually get somewhere with that instrument before you stop learning it, because otherwise it could just be a bad experience and you think, I can never learn to play an instrument, I'm no good at it. So you need to have enough time to actually develop skills so that children can believe they can actually do it. All the head teachers in Denmark, in the different schools where we work, have all agreed that they can see a huge difference in the children in their second year, gaining that confidence that they can actually do it. It's important to teach orchestral instruments in small groups, I think, to ensure individual needs are met, including technical aspects. If you had a whole class of 24, that would be very difficult to manage. But here, by ensuring we have groups of maximum 6, we can ensure we meet individual needs. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and my contact details are at the bottom if you would like to contact me. Thank you.